This program was made possible with the continued support of the PM affiliates. Become a Paramatch partner now. Hello, my iGaming friends out there, and thanks so much for supporting APCW Perspectives by tuning in week after week. You know, we almost made it through winter without getting a visit from this white shit that's laying on the ground. I mean, I guess I can't complain too much because spring doesn't officially begin until like March 21st or so. And we just got Andrew Rhodes out as the CEO of the UK Gambling Commission, which we spoke about on our last program. And while we don't know who will be his permanent replacement, we do know who is going to step in to fill the void temporarily. Sarah Gardner. She is the Deputy Chief Executive at the Commission, so I thought we should get acquainted with Sarah. You know, before I start just assuming the worst and bashing the woman. However, she has not returned my repeated phone calls, so I had to go to Google and do some research. Unlike Mr. Rhodes, who has a degree in history, Ms. Gardner has a degree in modern languages. What the hell is that? I'm sure it's going to be much better than the history degree. Her work history includes stints at the Office of Fair Trading and Revenue and Customs before joining the commission back in 2009. So she has been there for a while, but before she has even stepped into her new role, she stated that expectations for the commission in 2026 remain firm, and that evidence will guide changes. So, my question for Sarah is, what evidence exactly are you talking about? The evidence that showed UK problem gambling hovering around 0.5% for decades? Or are you going to use the new and improved evidence that the Commission just decided to switch to recently, showing that addiction was over 2% and justifying whatever agenda and new rules that you wanted? What about the evidence of a 500% jump in players moving offshore after your commission decided to implement their new draconian rules? Or maybe the evidence of gambling operators closing shops and laying off employees just like we told you would happen if you did all this mandatory levy and tax hike bullshit. So, tell us, Sarah, just what evidence will guide you and the commission forward? There are only two options, Sarah: the truth and the agenda. But before we just assume you're another stooge following orders like the last guy, let's hear what you have to say. Then we can bury you and criticize you. C24 Partners is a leading affiliate program without the restrictive terms. They have tailor-made commission deals, no bundling, no activity quota, and no negative carryover. C24 offers lifetime revenue share with a huge selection of online casinos and sportsbooks, plus tracking from Sell Expert. With 4,000 affiliates and dedicated managers, you should check out C24 Partners. We roll into the second half of our show by introducing yet another new APCW sponsor, and this time it's the 1xBet Partners, a leader in the industry since 2007 with over 3 million users from more than 150 countries. They let you promote a range of sports betting with competitive odds and offer effective rev share up to 37%, as well as CPA and hybrid offers. Plus, they have support in 69 languages. Check out their review page at apcw.org or visit them directly at onexpartners.com. All one word, onexpartners.com. Also this week, we just published the first of our new interviews from Barcelona as we speak with N1 partners. Our discussion about working with them is both interesting and transparent, plus a great refresher course on modern webmaster relationships with affiliate programs. You can find that video on the APCW website and our YouTube channel and in the forums at GPWA. Lastly, with all the talk about new leadership at the UK Gambling Commission, we found an interesting article about how the new tax rate increase for gambling in Britain could and probably will hit affiliates. It's not encouraging. The story, written by the managing director at Active Win Marketing, details what many webmasters were hoping to avoid, and that is the high likelihood that this tax hike is going to trickle right down to them, meaning falling commissions for the same amount of work. Yes, as margins tighten up, affiliates will almost certainly take a hit. And while this may not be surprising, it is another reason that I personally believe we're going to see a mass exodus of licensed operators from the UK this year and into next. And it's why I believe webmasters like you would do well to prepare for a life without the British market. Sounds scary? But it's time to diversify. Hey, if I'm right about this, then you're going to be ahead of the changes and better off. And if I'm wrong about this, well, you'll just be that much more diversified and profitable, right? I left a link to that story below this video in the GPWA forums. And with that, I'm going to go get warm and dry and come back next week and do it again. Maybe without all this crap. God willing. What about the evidence of a 500% jump in players moving offshore after your commission decided to implement? They're going to implement today is not the day to screw up. And yet here we are. Around 0.5% for decades and decades, or the new and improved evidence that the and it's always at the end. It's always at the end. You can find that video on the APCW website. Add this to the blooper reel. I'm curious as to how long this is going to go on. I suppose I could do like a 2-minute video and then just add the 9.5 minutes this is going to last onto the end, and then Michael Korfman would just see the time, because he doesn't really watch these. He would just see the timestamp being like 10 minutes. He'd be like, wow, J. Todd really knocked it out today. No, J. Todd just had to wait for some dick to back his truck up. Yeah. I think he's getting closer.